Hello and welcome to a new tutorial on stereoscopic 3D movie making. My name is Constantin Maier for Compot Online, compot-online.de. And yeah, like I said, in this episode I want to talk about stereoscopic 3D movie making. If you didn't know, we produced a 3D movie. It took us about 8 months, so if you haven't watched this, simply go to my channel, and yeah, it's called The Shadow of Justice 3D, or in German Der Schatten der Gerechtigkeit 3D. And yeah, it was hard work, and it is probably the first stereoscopic 3D movie produced for no budget in Germany. I don't know if there's any other around the world. So yeah, it is a short film, about 13 minutes, and yeah, I hope you watch it. And I think 3D is really the future. So but there are no real ways to produce 3D right now, so you have to go a bit into do-it-yourself. And I want to talk about what I found out and how you can create 3D images right now. But yeah, it is basically for low or no budget. So what you first need are two cameras. They have to be placed next to each other. They should be the same cameras. We used an HV30 and an HV20. Yeah, they are HD cameras from Canon, and they're actually pretty good. And the good thing is that they are basically the same. HV30 is basically the same like HV20, so we could use them. I borrowed the HV20 from a friend, so if you got a camera and you know a friend that has perhaps the same camera, you can already build a 3D rig. Yeah, then you have to build something that the both cameras are placed next to each other, so that you can mount it on a tripod or whatever. Yeah, we used one camera that we put upside down, so it was possible to place it more near the other camera. So we were getting less depth. And so we were able to get near the persons, and that's yeah, better for yeah, your creativity. Yeah, a big thing was the synchronization of the cameras. That was actually not really possible, so we had to use a clapperboard or whatever to synchronize them, and then we had to sync them in post. Another big deal was the focus. We weren't able to really pull the exact same focus on both cameras, so we had to use the autofocus, and if it was at the right place on both cameras, we had to fix the focus at that very same position. And yeah, that also took us like 1 minute or something, so that the focus was on the right position. So yeah. You also have to make sure that the white balance is also the same on both cameras, and basically every other setting like aperture or zoom or whatever. For the zoom, I always recommend using the smallest focal length possible, so you get the best depth effect. And if you zoom in on both cameras, the depth will kinda extend, and that is not good, because it will give you a headache, and it's basically not that good. So I always recommend using smallest focal length. So yeah, but I don't really want to get so much in detail with it. In this tutorial should be about how to edit your 3D material. So I'm just gonna go right into Premiere Pro, and I got footage from both cameras, from the left and the right camera. It is really important to name these files correctly. because you're getting very confused if you don't really name them correctly. So what we first want to do is drag the footage into the composition or into the sequence in Premiere Pro. What I like to do is that the video 1, that this is always the left camera, and video 2 is always the right camera, so you never get confused. Like you see, it is all already upside down, or like I said, one camera was upside down. So yes, we shot in 1080p, but actually this project is in 720p, and for the reason I'm going into that later. But first I'm going to scale it to frame size. Sorry, this is in German, I don't have the English version. And also for the right camera, also scale it to frame size. And for the left camera you can also rotate it 180 degrees so it actually lines up. So first thing we want to do is synchronize these both clips, because if you look at the end, you see it is not perfectly synchronized. If you use the method we used, you will never get a perfectly synchronized shot. So what we want to do is synchronizing it, and always using the clapperboard. Also in between, because it may appear that on the tape there's some kind of a dropout or something, and if you don't synchronize it, sometimes during the shot it is next to impossible to synchronize both clips correctly. I did that also, and it's not very nice to synchronize it without without some kind of a hit that is made during the shot. So what we first want to look for is when we're doing this clapperboard noise, and yeah, it is right here, I think. Yeah. So I think on this camera it is right here, so we have to line this up, and it looks very good, I have to say. Sometimes it is it appears that the synchronization is that on the one clip there it is here, and on the other clip there it is like in between these two frames, and you can't really do anything against it. You basically what you have to do is to gen lock your cameras, and that is all only available on very expensive cameras, so not possible with these consumer cameras. So we have to live with it, but you have to be aware of it, especially in fast motions. It is getting a bit complicated. So I'm gonna cut it, and to check your synchronization, you can always lower down the opacity of the first layer, and then you can play it back, and you can look if it fits. Yeah, that looks quite good. Of course, we can't really tell if it's perfectly synchronized, but it looks quite good. So the cut itself has to be in 2D. There's no way to edit the movie in 3D, except for you're buying like expensive equipment for the cut. But yeah, no, that's not for no budget or low budget filmmakers. So what I'm going to do is use this short walk of the actor, and I want to bring that in After Effects afterwards. The cut itself, like I said, has to be in 2D. If you have another scene, for example like this one, I prepared this one, this is already synchronized, and you want to cut from this to this, then you know it's basically like 2D but only with two layers on and not one layer. So let's jump into After Effects. First of all, I want to get rid of the scaling to frame size, and also want to rotate it back to 0 degrees. And then I'm going to take both of these layers and simply copy them, or Control C, and then go into After Effects. And first thing I want to do is create a composition. I'm gonna call this input left for the left image, and then I'm going to use 1920 by 1080 and aspect ratio square pixels, and I'm going to use a frame rate of 25. This is only, you know, for PAL standard here in Europe. In America you have to use like 24 or 30 or whatever. Okay, then I'm going to hit OK. So here I got this composition, and then I'm going to edit and paste what I just copied from Premiere Pro, and this can take a bit. So what I now want to do is take this and hit N so I can trim the composition to the work area. And because this is the left one, I'm going to copy the right one, or I can also duplicate the composition, duplicate or Control D, hit return and type in right and double click on it, and yeah, I'm just going to remove the left one on this, and on this I'm going to remove the right one, sorry. And now I'm going to hit R so I can rotate it around 80 degrees. So, and now I got both videos in these compositions. They are not perfectly in color, they are not perfectly the same, but I'm going into that later. Now I want to produce a 3D output. So for that I'm going to take one composition and drag it onto this composition button here, and it opens up a new composition, and I'm going to call that convergence control. I'm going to tell you later what this is. First I'm going to take the right one as well and put it beneath the input left, and you see it doesn't line up correctly. So what we first need to do is to create an anaglyph output so you can kind of see what the 3D output will look like. So I'm going to use set channels, and for set channels on the top one, on the left one, I'm going to remove the green source and go to off, and also the blue source, so we only have the red color in this image. And then I'm going to the right one, also use set channels, and I'm going to remove just the red source. So, and then we got green and blue, and that's basically how the anaglyph glasses work. On the left eye, you're only filtering what the red channels are telling you, and on the right eye, you're filtering what the blue and cyan, blue and green channels are telling you. So what I'm going to do is set the mode on the layer on top to add. So, and don't put on your 3D glasses right now, because like you see, there's a horrible so-called vertical parallax, because our eyes are horizontal. Everything, the left and right image have to be horizontally perfect to each other. So basically there shouldn't be an vertical offset, and that is called a vertical parallax, and we have to fix this. So what I want to do is take the left layer and just shift it so we adjust this. One problem we see with this footage is that the cameras weren't at the correct angle while shooting. In 3D you have to be very precise, and we weren't really able to do that with our rig, and we will always have these problems. So what I want to do is to rotate the right layer, for example, so that it fits a bit better. So we can never assure that correctly. So yeah, it doesn't has to be perfect. You have to look if, for example, these points line up. It will never be perfect, I gotta tell you, but honestly this can also work quite well, I gotta admit. So I see that I didn't activate didn't deactivate the separating of fields. So you always have to do this if you're shooting in progressive, yes, so you get full resolution. So let's look at the picture, and now you can put on your anaglyph glasses and look what it looks like. Put on mine, and actually it looks like a real 3D image. So but we have to do still some manipulations on this, and I'm gonna go into that right now. First of all, we see that the resolution doesn't line up correctly, so that's the reason why we're only producing this in 720p and not 1080p, because we lose so much resolution that we can't really compensate it. So what I want to do in this composition to make sure we can create this in 720p is to create a solid, and I'm going to make it black, and I'm calling this outline, make com size, and choose OK. Then I'm going to create another solid, calling this 720p, and making 1080 by 720, hit OK. And what I want to do with the outline is to use an alpha inverted matte, so we see a 720p image right here, and yeah, that's quite nice. What I want to do is hit T on the outline layer and use an opacity of about 50% so we can look through it. Okay, so now I want to scale this down so we get best resolution in 720p. So this looks quite nice. So but we have to manipulate the 3D image a bit. So, and now we want to use the horizontal parallax. We see that we by scaling it down, we changed the vertical parallax a bit, so we have to fix this again. Sorry for that. So this looks okay, I think. Not perfect, okay, you can always rotate it a bit more, but I think this looks also already quite good. So what we want to do, if we put on our 3D glasses, we see everything is basically behind the screen, and basically this is what we want to do. But I think the depth area is a bit too much in this case. So what I want to do is to line this up so that this actor is basically on the screen. So how do I do this? I shift this layer so that basically it overlaps, both images from left and right overlap, and by doing this, this actor will be basically on the screen, and this is what we want to do. So what else can we do with this parallax control or convergence control? If I shift this a bit more to the right, you'll see that the actors basically pop out of the screen. This looks good, but there's a problem with it, and I'm going to show you this. If I use an opacity of 100%, you see that this is called the stereoscopic window, and if we look at the screen as a window to another world, we see that it doesn't make sense that especially this part here or this part here tends to be outside the screen, but it actually breaks the stereoscopic window, and this is called a stereoscopic window violation, and it doesn't make sense, and in some cases you can get a headache from that, and you don't really want to see that in stereoscopy. So what we want to do is shift this back behind the stereoscopic window so we don't have any stereoscopic window violations. So I'm going to shift this back, and this looks quite good. Okay. Yes, I think that's about the manipulation of the image so far. So next thing we want to do is we want to process these position parameters, so we can output that later as two separate images. So what I want to do is create another composition and call that one process left, and I want to import the input left one for this here, and I'm going to make this fit again. Hit N. So what I want to do now is copy all the parameters of this image to this one, so we got this in a single composition. So I'm going to hit basically I'm going to reveal all the transform options for this one and also for this one. Make a bit more space here. So I'm basically going to copy all of the information right now, although we probably don't need anchor point or something like this, but we never know. So copy every parameter. Well, opacity we don't need. and then in this composition the input has basically the same values as we configured and manipulated in this one. But the good thing about this composition is that we got it separated. That we got the left image, and I'm going to do that also. I'm going to copy that with the right one. So we got them separated and not in an anaglyph image. And I'm going to replace this with the right one, and reveal that and copy all of these parameters as well. Anchor point, position, scale, and rotation. So now we also got our left image processed. So what we want to do now is also to add some kind of a color correction. But first, one thing that is important is to trying to correct left and right image so that the colors are basically the same, because we see they are not the same, because you'll never get them synchronized perfectly. So what I want to do now is create an adjustment layer. Oh, you don't see that adjustment layer. And what I want to add is an curve adjustment, so color correction curves. So how is that different from this one? This is a lot brighter. So what I want to do is take a picture of that, take snapshot, and go back to this one, and you can always check how this looks like. So I'm going to use a bit more brightness here. And basically yeah, they don't really exactly match up right now, but almost. And after we applied the actual color correction to this scene, it won't really be that noticeable. So our next step is to create the actual color correction. How do we do this? I'm going to create a new composition, and I'm going to call this color correction, and I'm going to use 1280 by 720, and I'm going to choose OK. And now I'm going to import the process left one to this, and I'm going to leave it like this because the position and everything is already adjusted correctly. So next thing I want to do is to create the color correction. I'm going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and one thing that is important right now is to right click on this layer and go to guide layer. This way, if we use this composition and drag this one into another one, this layer won't be visible. Only the adjustment layer will be visible. Okay, next thing I want to do is use some curves. You can use whatever you want. I'm going for some kind of a bluish look here. Bluish and green. It also has to be a bit darker, actually. But of course you can use whatever color correction you want. One thing that is important, especially in 3D, do not use high contrast, because high contrast will result in ghosting. What is ghosting? The problem is with basically every 3D solution out there for displaying, you will always see on one eye, you will always see some parts of the image that are supposed to be for the other eye. You will never get a real separation for both eyes. That is basically not really possible right now. So therefore you have to use you can't use high contrasts, because high contrasts will result in ghosting. So I think that looks already quite nice. You can always create some kind of vignette, for example, but for this one right now I don't really want to use that. How do we apply this right now? I'm going to create another composition and call this output left and hit OK. And I'm going to drag the process left into that, and also going to trim that down. And then I'm taking the color correction composition and put it on top of this. And now you'll notice nothing but important is to toggle that collapse transformation switch, and that in that way the adjustment layer all in this composition will affect this this process left composition. And the good thing about this, and why I created this adjustment layer in another composition, is that I can also do this with the other output. So I can do this for output left and for output right. I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to go to processed right, and now the color correction is applied to left and right. And that is basically very nice. Okay, what I else want to do is perhaps create some less saturation here, so this looks a bit cooler. Okay, so next step would be basically to render both of them. But first you probably want to check your 3D image after you color corrected it and so on. And what I want to do now is to combine those two, but you of course you can go to composition and make movie and then render this out right now. But I want to see it first in 3D right now. So what I want to do is go to input left, output left, and create another composition. And I'm going to call this 3D display, and also the output right. And then, like before, we can go to channel, set channels, and going to make an anaglyph image right here. And go to add and put on your 3D glasses. You can also display that, for example, if you got these blue-yellow glasses called color code glasses, then you gotta use other channels. I think the left one is the yellow one. So what you want to do is get rid of the blue, and for the right one you want to get rid of the red and the green, and then you got a color code image. You can also use these of course these green magenta glasses that were, for example, at these DVDs lately from My Bloody Valentine or Journey to the Center of the Earth, and the left one in here is green. So I'm going to get rid of the red and the blue, and for the right one I'm going to get rid of the green. So this also can be used with these glasses, but honestly I prefer the red and cyan glasses because they got the best color reproduction, and they are actually the brightest, I think. The good thing about the green magenta glasses is that basically both of these glasses, left and right, are equally bright, so it's more comfortable to watch with them during a longer time period. What you can also do, I for example got a 3D monitor from Zalman, and it uses circular polarization. So we can also find this polarization in new 3D cinemas, like with Real D technology, and this uses line by line polarization. This means it is also called X-pole, and this uses for the first line it has left for the left eye polarization, and the second line for the right eye, and for the third line for the left eye again, and so on. And therefore it creates this 3D image. And what we simply need to do is we have to create some kind of an interlaced image inside of After Effects for every line another image, and then we can also view this on this monitor, and I'm going to show you how to create this in After Effects right now. First of all, delete those outputs or the effects on it, and the first thing I want to do is to create a solid. You can also always use Control Y to create a solid. I think that's very fast, and I'm going to use this call this interlaced, and I'm going to make comp size and hit OK. And I'm going to use Venetian blinds as an effect, and what I want to do is the direction has to be 90 degrees, and the transition has to be 50%, and also the width has to be 2. It doesn't look that good, so what I want to do is create a pre-compose. So it is at layer and pre-compose. You don't see that right now. It is also Control-Shift-C, and I'm going to move all attributes into the new comp and call this interlaced comp and hit OK. And I'm going to Alt left click on it, or Alt left double click on it, or I think in CS4 it is just double click. So next thing I want to do is create another solid and make it white, put it in the background, and that way we can use the curves on this interlaced composition. And what I want to do is make the white actually white and the black actually black. Whoops. So, and the good thing now is that we can use this as a luma mat for one of the compositions. So I'm going to use luma mat, and that way I created an interlaced image for me to look. I can also use this as if I wanted to use 50%, it doesn't work. So what I want to do is go back into the interlaced comp and choose at the width 4, and then this will also work at 50%. and I'm going to throw on my 3D glasses right now. And the problem is, right now I see a false 3D image, also called pseudo stereoscopic 3D image, and what I want to do is just to adjust this view so that the right line is actually for the right picture. But this is just for the viewing, so you can see, yeah, well, here's a bit ghosting or whatever, and then you can go back to their color correction and adjust this. Or if you got there are also very complicated things you can do. A very difficult task in 3D is to create visual effects and composite some stuff in there, because the problem is it has to be basically the same on both images, and it also has to be placed correctly in the 3D space, and that is also a difficult task to do, and you can always check this in your 3D display. Here I got an example of quite a difficult 3D visual effect shot. In 2D it might have been a bit easier. So what I did here was adding these lights right here, so they weren't available before, and the problem was first, of course, to track this, so that was quite difficult because there was this fence and all this stuff going on. And yeah, the other problem was to take the tracking data and apply it also to the right image, and that is actually very difficult. And you also have to keep in mind that the effect you're applying has to be perfectly in 3D space, so if it's just a few millimeters off, it will appear at yeah, at another position in space, and that doesn't look right, and therefore you have to place it exactly, and you have to be very exact. If the tracking on like the right layer is totally different than on the left one, or even a bit different, then you will notice that if you're watching the 3D movie, because your right eye sees something else than your left eye, and you have to always keep that in mind. And therefore this shot was quite complicated, and I was working on it quite a long time. First I want to render the left and right output right now out. So I'm going to save this as output left and the right one as output right. What I like to use as a setting is QuickTime Movie and Photo JPEG at around 95%. And now audio output, and okay. And also on this one, JPEG, okay, and output right, and I'm going to render this right now. So it is rendered out, and now I want to go back to Premiere Pro, and what I want to do first is to create two other video layers here. So let's import these two outputs, and I'm going to drag them both into Premiere. And what I want to do is simply take the left output, put it above the footage, and also the right one, and put it also above the footage, and that way we got them both inside of Premiere Pro, and it's very nice. And you afterwards you simply have to render out like the whole layer here that is with left videos, and then the whole one with just write videos. And so you got like two outputs at the end, one video with the left image and one with the right one. And what I like to do with the fifth layer here, I want to make like a 2D version of the film, and this is the way how you edit 3D movies, of course for low budget. Yeah, it's a bit difficult because you got 5 layers right here just for one single video clip. But I worked on our 13 minutes movie on this, and yeah, it was actually fun but also a bit difficult, of course. And there's also a way to view the image in 3D inside of Premiere, which is very comfortable. But one thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to use 50%, and you also have to be an owner of like the Salman with line by line polarization. And what I want to do is to use the effect we use in After Effects, the Venetian blinds. Here in German it is called Jalousien, and I'm going to drag that right onto the composition on top, and I'm going to use 50% again and 90 degrees and a width of 4. And if I put on my 3D glasses right now, I'm going to see a 3D image, and that is quite comfortable, but it has to be played at highest resolution, so you might run into some problems if there's too much data the computer has to work on. After you've rendered it out from Premiere Pro, you probably want to create some kind of over-under or side-by-side version. This looks like this, and yeah, then on top is my left image and on the bottom is my right one. And then you probably want to open it up in the stereoscopic player. This is a powerful stereoscopic player, like the name suggests, and it can read almost every format, like interlaced, side by side, over under, Sensio, and whatever. And then you want to watch it in here. And the good thing about this is that you really can use like every output. Like for my Salman, I use the interlaced output. You can also use anaglyph output, like color, red, cyan, like every output you'd like to have, and this is just great. Okay, my name is Constantin Maier for compositeonline.de. Goodbye.